Well, we always enjoy the visits from the CFL on TSN's Jim Barker, and he may or may not know this, but his panelists agree. They're texting me, Jim, saying how much they enjoy you on this show. Are they telling you that, or are they just texting me?
No, they actually mention it, and whatever I say, I get called on that night. So you have a wide following.
Hey, you should get a game check, a game bonus for motivating Jake Dolegala and the Riders last week. What do you think?
I'm all for that. Man, did he play well? It was, like I say, it came from where nothing I had seen before, and he stayed in the pocket and he stepped up and, made some huge throws, and what a phenomenal game that was.
It was phenomenal. And by the way, that's why guys like you and me have a job in this business. You got to give opinions. We're not going to be 1,000. Nobody's 1,000% last I checked. Anyways, last night, if that was a Grey Cup preview, Jim Barker, no thanks. 47-17 Winnipeg over Montreal. Maybe you didn't think it was a Grey Cup preview going in. I know Dunnigan did. Wasn't much of a game.
Yeah. No, I wasn't. Again, Montreal hasn't shown what they truly are. They've lost now 4 games. They have yet to beat, and those 4 losses were to Winnipeg twice, BC, and Toronto. So until they can beat one of those teams in a game that matters, they're in the next, who's better between them and Saskatchewan, and but they're not in that discussion of the top teams. And again, last night, they played a great first half. They really did. Their defense played phenomenal. Second half, did they tire out from that game against Ottawa, which was a draining game when they, that 25-24 game that I never thought they had a chance to win. They came back and won, but did that take a lot out of them then playing on a Thursday? I think one thing you see with Thursday games is you occasionally get that team that's going to wear out in the second half, and that's exactly what happened with this team. They flat wore out, and guys were running free, and credit to Zach Collaros for throwing 3 pick sixes or 2 pick sixes and a third interception that took points off the board, and still keep flinging it in the second half and didn't throw any interceptions. And they showed what they are, which is one of the top 3 teams in the league.
Yeah, but having said that, what do you think about this? I'm just throwing it out there because I saw it on social media that if you switched quarterbacks last night and Collaros played for Montreal and Fajardo played for Winnipeg, the result would have been the same. They're pretty even quarterbacks, good quarterbacks, but Cody's team let him down. Zach's team propped him up. Would you agree with that assessment?
Well, you know what? That's an interesting scenario. Again, I think one of the reasons Winnipeg guys on offense play the way they play is because Zach is their quarterback. And again, it's one of those, you don't know until you go to it. It's an interesting assumption because Winnipeg's offensive line and defensive line played fantastic. Their receiving core, obviously, different guys making big plays. And Brady Oliveira is the most dominating running back in the league. It was him against Standback, 2 of the top. And it was no show. It was there was no comparison between the two. So again, it's one of those things that, what is Montreal? Are they going to be battling for second spot, which I think they're pretty secure in, and that they've won the season series with both Ottawa and Hamilton already. And those 2 teams are both still mightily struggling. So I think they're pretty shoe in for second place, but that's kind of what they are to me right now until they show they can play with the 3 better teams.
I'll shelve the Week 12 talk for a second to ask you this. Kurtis Rourke of the Ohio Bobcats ranked number 1 for the CFL Draft, first ever quarterback put in that spot. You've executed many CFL drafts for teams. Would you take him number 1 if you had that pick?
Not a chance. I don't see any way that he's going to be in our league. At 6'5", 230 pounds, last year's MAC Player of the Year. I just don't see any way that he comes to this league quickly. And when you take the first pick overall in the draft, you need to have a great opportunity to sign him, to know you're going to get him there. Again, he's an outstanding player. He's a lot like his brother. He's not his brother, and that's one of the things you have to remember is people will always say, well, when you get Kurtis, you're getting basically just a bigger version of Nathan, and that's not the case. Again, they have very different skill sets, and it'll be interesting. But I believe he's an NFL guy. I think he much more than Nathan did. Nathan coming out of Ohio U, and people can say what they want, but there was nobody who said this guy's going to be a star. And you couldn't see that on the film. They run an offense that is very ball controlled. Tim Albin is from Tom Osborne School, and Rod, I know you remember those Tom Osborne Nebraska teams. Well, that's kind of what they did at Ohio when Nathan was there. So his film, there's no NFL people I saw that, in fact, when he went to training camp, they made him a receiver. Now, it's obvious that he can play quarterback. He wasn't in a system. And I talk all the time about what system a quarterback gets in will so often determine his success. And I think that he was at a university. He was not going to show what he could do there. Now, when he got the opportunity, he showed what he is. I think the situation he's in now is very interesting. He's at a place. They have two established quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and probably his best friend, C.J. Beathard, or 1 and 2. It makes for a little difficult situation because Nathan Rourke has come in there with, I'm not going to say a chip on his shoulder, but he's come in there with, I was listening to their broadcast of their game Saturday, and they said he's come in expecting that he's going to be the guy, expecting that I can be the backup quarterback here, that this is going to be my job, and they say that those are great qualities to have, but in the minds of the people, the decision makers, C.J. Beathard has been there. He's popular in their locker room. He's very, very tight with Trevor Lawrence. What they don't want to do is upset Trevor Lawrence. He's their meal ticket. Now, Nathan Rourke gets an opportunity. If Trevor Lawrence was to get hurt for the year, I don't think it'll take long before C.J. Streveler's out and Nathan Rourke is in. I think he has shown he can play in that league. And there's other teams that have seen him. Will they protect him and keep him on the 53 so another team can't get him? I would think they might. He's been that good in the preseason. I mean, he's taken him to 4 touchdown drives in the preseason. That's unheard of. So I think he's showing that, again, I don't think they give enough credit to his CFL experience down there. When I listen to games, they say, well, in the NFL, he was a receiver. He went up, had to go to Canada where they let him play quarterback, and he went in and he played real well, and now he's got a chance here as a third. I mean, they just downplay what he did in our league, which was special. What he did was special, and I think that everybody in Canada that watched what that kid did know that. I don't think that's gotten through to the people down there. So he's going to wait his time, and he's doing everything he can do, which is playing at a high level. But again, I think you have to understand the situation that he's in, and there's nobody who's going to give him a backup job.
Ohio FAU, Saturday, September 9th. I'll be in the house in Boca Stadium, just down the road from my house. Howard Schnellenberger Stadium, so I can't wait. I've seen Nathan live. I can't wait to see Kurtis live.
And I didn't mean to turn your question about Kurtis into Nathan, but it just seemed like a natural segue because Milt and I were talking last night about it, and Dave Naylor was in there, and Dave Naylor just got off the road with him. And so the Nathan Rourke story is very much on my mind. So that's why I kind of your question was
anything
about
goes. Anything goes on this show. You're good. Other than time constraints, which you know. So we have about 4 to 5 minutes left. Calgary at Toronto tonight. It's a big one. I'm watching it from a Calgary perspective. There's a lot of heat here on the Stamps. They lose, they're 3-8. What's your thoughts on the game tonight?
Well, Kadeem Carey's not playing, and the one explosive player, since they lost Malik Henry, they have no big play players except for Tommy Lee Lewis, and he's not going. So the one advantage they have is I think that Dave Dickinson and Brent Monson are in the heads of Ryan Dinwiddie and Corey Mace. I think that of any team in the league, those guys worry about, wow, they know everything we're doing, and they know this, and they beat us bad in Calgary last year. Came to Toronto, won. Toronto hasn't beaten them since I think 2015 in Toronto. So it's a team that mentally, I think the coaching staff struggles with, because for Corey Mace, that was his only coaching experience was under Brent Monson, under Dave Dickinson. Ryan Dinwiddie spent he was in Montreal also, but a good percentage of his time under Dave Dickinson. Mark Mueller's a very, very good friend, and they're very tight with that staff. And it just seems that, it's almost like they're in there and they're saying, well, they know we're going to do it this way, so we need to do this different. And I say they're in their heads. So that's
we'll
their
find
advantage.
out. But yeah, how much does that play out on the field? I guess a lot. I assume, but I don't think it's. Yeah, not enough for Toronto to lose.
Yeah, they're coming off a bye, Toronto, and they need this win to give them some space from Montreal.
We'll got to make it quick. There's two more games. Let's talk about them each. We have fans of all these teams all across the country watching. So, Hamilton at BC. I thought on that. BC was embarrassed in Sask last week. They were. I don't think they take their eye off the ball against Hamilton Saturday night.
No, and Hamilton is struggling. Their quarterback situation is a mess. I think they're right now, they're where Edmonton was before Edmonton, went in and beat them. So I think they're struggling. I think this is going to be a long, long afternoon for them.
And what some might think is the game of the week, Ottawa at Edmonton Sunday. Bet Regal, our exclusive betting partner, has it as a pick'em. Elks favored by 0.5. Any thoughts on that one at Commonwealth Sunday?
Well, I like Edmonton. I just think that, Ottawa is they're one of those teams that everybody says, man, they're so good, they're so close, and they've had so many games that, I didn't think there was any way they were going to lose to Montreal. Yet they lost, and they're still losing games, and they've lost 4 in a row now. Sometimes that becomes a bad habit, and again, Edmonton, they're coming off a big win. Ottawa's coming off a crushing loss and traveling across the country. For Edmonton, if they don't win this one, they got the Stamps at home, and then they've got Winnipeg and BC, I think, are their last 2 home games. And I think they realize the gravity of this game. They don't want to go into the offseason with this longest losing streak thing. And I think they'll be very focused. Can Trey Ford put together really a 3rd game in a row? I think he can. And I think that Edmonton can get that win at home, will get that win at home against Ottawa. I just think it's the timing is right for it to happen now.
We'll all be watching for sure. I think it's going to be a fun afternoon. Jim, we covered all the games and we talked about Kurtis Rourke. That's what I wanted, so I thank you for that. We'll be watching tonight. Thanks for the time.
Very good. Thanks, Rod.
The CFL on TSN's Jim Barker, 5-time Grey Cup champion. And by the way, Jim's appearances are brought to you by EMJ Marketing, providing the right keynote speaker for your event. Contact Joe at emjmarketing.com today. They represent both Jim Barker and me.